the evening in a couple of moments. May I request the organizers to call those who are having their high tea, just invite them. We will take a couple of minutes. And meanwhile, while we start, Mahesh asked me to do some kind of ice breaking for the evening, though it is not so cold that it is you can, you will have to do that. But I feel the best way of ice breaking is probably run around in your own table. If you don't know anybody, just shake hands. Even if you know them, just shake hands with them. Introduce yourself, say who you are and all that. Shush, please go ahead. Just interact with your neighbors on the table, if you have not already done that. So the whole purpose of TiE is knowledge share, plus also networking. So this is one networking opportunity prior to the event. Okay, kind attention, you can take your seats. We are beginning the program. Can we have your attention, please? We'll start, yeah? Okay. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Thank you. Thanks for that warm response. And we welcome you to this knowledge share series of TiE. Okay. I said TiEcon because the first point in my list was about TiEcon. So before we get into the main point and the agenda of the day, I wanted to make this highlight about TiEcon. Now, we are all aware about what happened at TiEcon. TiEcon was an event which was held very recently, and after that, this is the program that we are all meeting here formally. TiEcon was a resounding success. More than 300 people visited TiEcon, registered, visited, networked, listened, interacted, and a lot of knowledge share. All this happened because of extreme hard work by the cohort, by the team who headed. So on behalf of you all and on my personal behalf, I would like to congratulate the president of TiE Mysuru chapter, Sudanwaji. Round of applause for him. And the TiEcon 2023 chairperson, Nagarajanji. Congratulations to him. And the co-chair, Dr. Mahesh, who is with us. So personally, we will wish him congratulations for a fantastic TiEcon. Not to forget the whole team that was involved at TiEcon, because they all did some extremely hard work. We could see the sleepless eyes. I could see at least few of them who were struggling to open their eyes on the second day, because they were really working to see that things go as planned. So with that note on TiEcon, we are sure that the next editions are going to be much more exciting and much more knowledge sharing and much more effective in terms of giving a very good platform for startups in Mysuru. So with that note, we will come to the main agenda for today. I am Rakesh Babu. I'll be the host for today, and thank you for the opportunity, TiE. So TiE Mysuru organizes these knowledge share sessions every month. And these are sessions where we call experts, industry captains, to share their experiences and knowledge with us, which are going to help not just in understanding, but also putting the learnings into practical use. So in this series, we've been inviting a lot of eminent leaders from different industries. We have two dashing youngsters who are going to share interesting thoughts with us. A little bit more about them a little later, but before that, to give a formal introduction to the evening and to welcome you all, may I request Dr. Mahesh to give his welcome address of the evening. Over to you, Mahesh.
Good evening. Good evening. Good. That's good to hear. So Friday evening in Mysore, that too with a cloudy weather. Most of you, or most of our registered participants may be still there and home, eating pakoras and having a cup of chai. Okay. So for those who came in here, we had a chai, but we didn't have the pakoras. Sorry about that. Maybe next time we will arrange that. So a little bit about TiE. TiE is a global organization which is based in 14 countries with about 62 chapters. And Mysuru chapter is about 4 years old now. In 2018-19 we started, and we have been here. And the last TiECon, as Rakesh mentioned, was a grand success. We had a wonderful success in there. We, for the first time in the TiECon, we had some excess money made out of the TiECon for the programs which are coming in. So we created a corpus out of that. So that is a good thing. Okay. Thanks to Sudhanmaji for driving that and making sure that happens. And so what does TiE do? One of the things which we all ask about, right? What does TiE do? TiE believes in the 5 pillars, which is mentoring, networking, educating, incubating, investing, right? So out of the TiE Mysuru, we are focused on the 4. Incubation part of it we don't have yet. Maybe we will start later. Out of that, the 4 pillars which we are progressing and working with. One of that is the education part of it, which is the, what do we call it as the knowledge series which we start, right? And the mentoring, Shiv Shankar is going to talk about the mentoring part of it which we are starting, which is the Neptune program, the TiE mentoring program, which he's going to talk about a little later. So networking, that's where all of you are here in physical. So you can meet up with the people, network with them, exchange the phone numbers, talk to them, find out whether they can be of help, and whether they can help you or you can help them, whichever the way. Okay, that's one other thing. I always tell people that I am always available for any kind of consulting, any kind of talk, any kind of help which you need. So anytime, pretty much 24/7. I haven't, even if there is a missed call, I return. I do take sleeps and naps and all those stuff, but I do return the calls. So that's what TiE does. So with that, we have had, had wonderful series of events this past year. Today we have with 2 young people, Madhwesh, who's a friend of mine. I know him for some time, and Sumanth Prabhu. So both of them are here. So we will listen to them, and somebody will do an introduction of what they have done, why we need to listen to them. And I saw that, they raised their pre-series A round. So, some amount of money. So maybe, thank you. Good job. So it's good to see that those are the kind of people we want to listen to see what we can do to get ourselves into that kind of a mode of operations where we raise the funds, we utilize it, and we grow. So that's what they're going to be talking about. Okay? So the next one which we are going to be planning is about how do we create wealth. That's one of the sessions which we are planning. Hopefully we will have that pretty soon. Okay? So this is the kind of a thing which TiE plans to do and intends to do. And we in Mysuru, we are a small chapter that way. And very recently, May 4th, 5th, the TiE University Pitch Fest happened in Silicon Valley. And our chapter champion, or the team which won, went in virtually and pitched. So they didn't go to they got eliminated in the semifinals. The finals were with only 5 teams. So out of the 32 teams, we were one of the 32. Okay, so that was also a pretty exciting thing. So we had a lot of boot camps and boot camp sessions and all those stuff in Silicon Valley, but we, our team did not go there, and it's a pretty expensive proposition, as well as getting the visa was almost impossible. So hopefully maybe next year it will be easier for the students to get the visa and go there and participate. Okay, with that, I'll again welcome all of you on behalf of TiE. Enjoy the session, network, learn something, and propagate whatever you have learned to the others. Thank you so much.
Well, Mahesh, the good news is that probably in his own words, TiECon made a profit, so I'm sure that Bootstrap is covered, right? So that was on the light note. Of course, this is an interesting evening. We are going to listen to some erudite thoughts, probably the practitioner's perspective and what they have gone through. The first speaker for the evening is a handsome Malnad hunk. Now, for those of us who know him, many of us incidentally know him, We have seen how he has risen in the space of education with his sheer grit and determination. So he carries himself with passion and talks about education and different perspectives in his own style. And like it was flashed in all the groups of TiE and in the media, he has been successful in raising the early funding of $3.2 million. A round of applause for that also. I'm not going to take the thunder out of the main introduction because she is staring at me. So may I invite Spurti Vivek to give a formal introduction of the speaker, Sumanth Prabhu. Over to you, Spurti.
This is an excellent profile to kind of run through. Sumanth Prabhu. Sumanth Prabhu is a co-founder and CEO of Ulipsu, Kidvento, a first-generation entrepreneur, and an enthusiast technocrat with a passionate educator. He's actually born from Sagar, Shimoga district, and he's completed his engineering in 2013 from Jawaharlal Nehru National Engineering College. And at the age of 19, he started his own company called Crew, which actually has got the best startup of the nation award by Tata's. So quite commendable. He co-founded Westo Education Solutions LLP in 2014, along with the co-founder Nikhil KB. Both hand in hand, they have invented Kidvento Education and Research Private Limited to scale up to their work in providing curriculum solutions from the kindergarten to 10. And Kidvento is a curriculum solution which creates hands-on kits for every chapter of science, mathematics as per CBSE and the state syllabus. So they've already reached a target of 250 schools across South India so far. With Kidvento launching a brand, Ulipsu, the tagline says, learn what you wish to in 2022. This was invented in 2022, and the first of its kind multi-potential learning platform where with just one subscription, youngsters aged between 6 to 16 can learn over 15 vital skills through hundreds of experts curated bit-sized courses. Ulipsu is spearheading towards making learning holistic for millions of young minds by 2025. So Kidvento is a recipient of Elevate 2018 award by the government of Karnataka too. So Sumanth Prabhu is also a member of governing bodies of several technical and management institutions. He's continuously engaged in helping several startups from their tier 2 cities to build and scale in their businesses. So I welcome you on stage, sir. Please come and help us with your mindful detailing. Thank you very much.
Are we going to run the PPT? Anyway, so good evening, everyone. I'm first of all, thanks for the opportunity to talk to Mysuru entrepreneurs. That's really very close to my heart because I'm not from Mysuru. I mean, I was first time I came to Mysuru was 2013. Until that is when I finished my engineering. So that is when I came to Mysuru. Until then, I did not know that, I had no clue that, I'll come and set up in Mysuru. I'm from Shimoga. I studied in Shimoga. I finished my engineering in Shimoga. And once I finished my engineering, so when I was in engineering, I started the company. I started a student startup. And that completely, was in my head. And, the moment I got out of the engineering, I did not really think of going to any job. In fact, I had 2 job offers doing the placement interviews, and I rejected both of them, and I started on my own. And I knew that, Shimoga is not the place for me, probably, for the business to scale, because it's not that evolved or, exposed. So that's why, we were trying to find a different city, not Bangalore. So Bangalore becomes, we thought Bangalore is, too expensive. It is really difficult to set up. So that's why, I and my co-founder Nikhil, we started roaming around cities in Karnataka. So we went to Mangalore, we felt it's too hot. We went to Hubli, it is too dusty. So then we came to Mysuru, it is beautiful. So that is how we came to Mysuru. No logic, nothing, so no market research, nothing we did. Mysuru is beautiful, closer to Mangalore. So can go, there are 25 trains between Mysore and Bangalore. So that is what the calculation we did. And overnight we shifted from Shimoga to Mysore, and my parents didn't even know about it. So I came here, and then suddenly I remembered, oh shit, I have not told my parents. I called my mother and I told, and that was, they started shouting at me, and all that happened. But yeah, 2014 May 16th was a day that I came to Mysore. Why I remember that? Because that was the election announcement day when Modi became the Prime Minister, May 16, 2014. So that is how I came to Mysore and started setting up. I and Nikhil came, and we were two of them in 2014. And today Kidvento has about 170 employees across. So in Mysore, we have about 100 people. Our office is in Bogadi. We have studio, office, everything in Mysore. And we have a big setup in Bangalore as well. So we operate from both the cities. And today, I mean, our customers are completely there in South India. There are some schools in Northeast, that is Nagaland. There are some schools we have in Uttar Pradesh. And we have tied up very recently with schools in Dubai as well. So that is how we have spread now. Right, so I mean, this is a simple introduction, a quick introduction. Let me, okay, thank you. So why I chose the topic fundraise to growth, bootstrap to fundraise to growth is because I am actually somebody who always hated fundraising, honestly. I never thought that, I wanted to fundraise. I never wanted to fundraise also. And there are multiple reasons. I'll take you through the presentation. But it happened. And when it happened, I should admit it and I should respect it. So that is why bootstrap to fundraise to growth. And I have reduced the font size of fundraise. And I did this presentation, in the last 30 minutes before I just headed to the venue. So don't mind the font and designs and everything, because Madhwesh has a beautiful PPT. I am just providing a disclaimer now. Right, so got it. So okay, now let me show you the growth, right? So what looks like an overnight success is definitely not. So I have spent about 10 years to reach where I am. So in these 10 years, I have started two companies, Westo and Kidvento. Both are again the same, just the legal entities are different. And I have launched at least about 6 different products in these last 10 years. And out of the 6 products, 3 have failed, 1 has performed average, and 2 have performed average, and 1 performed like, mind-blowingly well. So that is the journey, right? So this is the journey. So 2014 to 2023 today. And I wanted to, bifurcate this journey into, multiple stages. And I would like to also say that an entrepreneur's opinion is not the final opinion. My opinion is my learning. Like, what I'm going to share today may not be as relatable to you or may not be the right thing. So there is nothing called right or wrong. I'm just sharing my opinion, my learnings. And I'm pretty sure that is mostly relatable to everybody. But if it is not relatable, try to relate it to other events that you're going through. Because the story that I'm sharing is, is a complete ground-up story. I'm from a middle-class background. My father was a government employee, and my father is the only graduate in his entire generation. He's the first person to get a formal employment. So he's the only government employee, or rather employee, in the entire family. So I am the second engineer in my entire family. And you know what? So naturally, what is fed in your mind? If you're a son of a government employee, what is fed in your mind? So from day one, I was fed that you become an IAS officer. There are only 2 professions according to my father. One is you become a government employee, or you become a professor in a college. There are only 2 professions. Other than that, everything else is bad. So business means, no, it cannot. Now also my father says, "Ee business hogalla nodu." So when he goes to buy something, if the rate is high and also he says, "Business hogalla nodu, inge mosa mad ದುಡ್ಡು ಮಾಡೋದು." And I said, "Appaji, ನಾನು business ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು." So this is what happens, right? So I was raised in a very not conservative, it's a very pampered, protective environment. So that's why I'm saying this is a completely ground up story. So 2014-16, it is the bootstrap time. 2014 to 16, when I started Vesto, that was bootstrap. And then there came an unexpected interest in 2017. And there came an unexpected growth in 2018. And there came a crisis in 2019. There came a big crisis in 2020. There came a bigger crisis in 2021. And then growth started. And then unlimited aspiration. So this is the journey. Today we have raised, as on today, yesterday, the news was out. We have raised totally in this round $5.7 million. That's approximately about 47 crores we have raised. And I'm also very proud to say that we have given exit to the seed investors that we had. So a whooping return of about 300%. So for the seed investors. So this is the entire journey, but let me go, let me go really one by one. So this is how it is, right? The first one is bootstrap. So I'm going to, kind of, I believe a lot of associate TiE members are there and who have just started, who are in the growing stage and, probably who have also crossed the growing stage and, trying to move up a ladder. So I think this entire journey you can definitely relate to. Even if you have not crossed these paths, definitely you can think of this path right now itself, and whenever you meet that hurdle, you can then know what exactly to do or how exactly to feel, if not what exactly to do. So bootstrap is all about the first point, humbleness, high aspiration, and madness. When we started, we did not know what we are doing, why we are doing. We just wanted to experiment. Completely we wanted to experiment without having any kind of expectation on the returns or success or anything. And it was madness because we were doing everything. So now, and bootstrap stage is definitely not a stage where you raise money. If you're bootstrapping, because a lot of entrepreneurs today, whenever I go to speak, they come and ask me, we want to raise funds. I'll tell you the biggest pitfall in raising in bootstrap stage, right? While you're bootstrapping, you yourself don't know what you're doing. That's the truth. That is called, that's why it is called bootstrap. You yourself don't know, what you're doing. You yourself don't know whether the market is ready for your product. You yourself do not know whether you are going to stick in this journey for the next 10 years, right? So bootstrap journey is like a very, very volatile journey, or rather very unclear journey. So that time if you raise funds, what will happen is you are actually playing with others' money, which is not right, and also which will not, it will not give success. And one of my earliest mentors said, when you have money, you will try to solve every problem with money. When you don't have money, that is when you innovate. So which I believe which is very true. Because, so, I mean, imagine, right? I mean, you're bootstrapping. You have just started in your journey. And you received that, seed funding or angel investment of 1 crore. Now you have money, right? You start kind of, solving every problem with money. Even like, office, it is getting hotter. Okay, put AC, it's okay. It happens like that, right? So, every problem, what we do, what we did when, our office was getting hotter in summer, we asked owner to, make a hole and make one more window on the other side so that ventilation passes through. Because we didn't have money to pay for AC. Trivial example, but that's the thought. When you have money, you don't even think about that example, idea. You will just, put an AC, right? So likewise, even in the product development, business development, sales is not happening. The moment you understand that sales is not happening, if you don't have money, what will you do? As a founder, you will actually get on the field and start doing sales. You will try to meet customers and then you will try to find, what really is lagging. But if you have money, what will you do? Hire BDMs. You will hire some of the top business executives and try to sell the product. But you yourself don't know what is happening, right? Money in the bootstrap stage is like, is not a boon, it's a bane, completely. So those who ever are in your bootstrap stage, please do not even think about fundraising. But rather, I mean, I'm not discouraging you. I'm only saying get out of that bootstrap stage faster. You can do that. For me, I took 9 years, but people have done it in 1 year also. People have done it in 3 years. Probably I'm a slow learner. I have taken 9 years, but it can always be beaten. But you really need to cross that bootstrap stage to, go to the fundraising stage. Now, if you look at, and also cut off all expectation. This is very important because expectation not from just my side, from the other side. For example, cut off expectation like, parents wanting you to send money. Cut off expectations like, if you're married, like, for your wife or spouse to, meet your expectations. Let me be gender neutral. So the spouse to help you. So there are multiple expectations that will be there. We should cut off. And the third one is, in the bootstrap stage, we should have micro speed and macro patience. What does it mean? We should be very patient in terms of expecting the final result, like the bigger success, right? For example, you want to achieve 1 crore sales. And if you think that, in 1 month I will do 1 crore sales, or 1 year, depending on the business, 1 year I'll do 1 crore sales, that's a wrong thing. That patience should be for, let's say, in 3 years I'll reach 1 crore sales. But what is micro speed? But everyday hustle you do, right? In terms of product, in terms of business, in terms of customer interaction, that should be fast. That is called micro speed and macro patience, which is extremely important. This is what we have followed. We follow this even through the day. But our now macro patience window is, small. Our now macro patience is like, running in months. Earlier, this macro patience was running in, in years. Now it is running in months. But micro speed, it is increasing. Now, that is the bootstrap stage. We bootstrapped by having people, working for us at 10,000, 15,000 rupees. I was always on the field selling to one or the other school. My co-founder Nikhil was always in the school training the students. We were doing everything. It is very important for you to recognize you are in a bootstrap stage. I'll tell you why raising money at bootstrap stage without any caution is also bad. Our own example. I don't want to relate to anybody else. I'll not take any bigger examples. I'll only relate to my story. So then an unexpected interest arises. So 2016, or rather 2017, we were running our company well. We were making that 20-30 lakh annual revenue. And, we were kind of, doing not well, I would say, we were surviving. And suddenly I got a call from I got a call from US. So it was a US phone code, and I was surprised. And I received the call. It was somebody from my Tier 3 Connect who called me and said, we have heard about you and we are now interested in investing in Indian startups, and I got your reference from somebody. We would like to invest. Until that point, we had no thought of getting investment. But this call came and, already, we were excited. Now, you can relate to yourself, right? Now, you are running your business peacefully. I'm pretty sure many of you would have got this unexpected interest. If yes, raise your hands, please. Many of you would have got this unexpected interest. You are not even expecting that, but that unexpected interest come into your way. Right? So now what happens? I made a mistake here. I accepted the investment because the amount was good. The equity shell out was also good. So we accepted the investment. Why it is bad, I'll tell you. We were not ready. We were 100% not ready. So when they said that we want to invest, we did not know what was the product. We were like, okay, me and Nikhil was speaking like, okay, these guys are ready to invest, what is the product? Okay, let's not raise money for training business. Let's raise money for something like a product, and let's build a product. And we made a jugaad and, built a product, and we presented to them, and they also gave the money. So later I understood, they had their mindset that, whatever they present, we will give money. Because this is how NRIs work, right? They now have excess money. They want to deploy it somewhere. And if their mind is made up to, invest in a startup, they will invest, whatever it is. But, how it harmed us. Yes, we got money. And the moment we got money, just because we have presented a product to them, we now are compelled to work on that product. That is the pitfall. With investors, this happens, right? So you present a product and they invest on the product. And you being an entrepreneur, you are passionate. Whatever that you sell, you passionately sell, and investors will definitely invest. But you've got the investment, now you're accountable. And you got to work on that product. 1 month down the line, 1 month to the product development, I and Nikhil understood that this product is not going to work. Just in 1 month. But our hands were tied. Rather, our mouths were tied. Because we couldn't speak it out loud to our investors that, no, this is not happening, sorry. Like, you had to perform and you had to build that product. So for almost 1 year, we built the product. We launched it in the market. Miserably failed. Miserably failed. And all that money is gone now. Money is not there. That was the time we raised about 100K USD. That time it was about 65 lakhs. So, and miserably failed. The entire 65 lakh is gone. And we did not know what to do. Thankfully, I'm repeating this word again. If your investors are not vultures, you will be spared. If your investors are vultures, and if your agreement is done in such a way that they can take control of you, which Madhwesh will definitely speak about, then you are gone for good. Thankfully, our investors were very kind, and they were also from Malnad, so some kind of emotion was there. They were like, no, Sumanth, Nikhil, we understand that the product tanked, but we believe in you. Keep working on it. But you don't have extra money. How will you do? We said, let's see how to go forward. But something that I believed in is to always have a heartbeat business model. So what we did, while we were developing this new product, we never erased the old product. That was our training business. We kept earning revenue from our training business. So that is why we were financially stable then also. Maybe salary, probably, there was a delay of 5-10 days. And I and Nikhil didn't get salary. That was okay. But company was not in a stage where, we had to shut the doors. So because we had a parallel revenue source, which is in the same business line, right? So that is also very important. We cannot have a heartbeat model that is a revenue generating model, which is completely out of your business, core product. It has to be attached to the core product itself. So that is something that we did, and money was gone. So that is the stage of unexpected external interest. So that is why what I would say is, you feel like an angel has arrived, not the VC angel, the guardian angel, God angel, that angel I'm talking about. You feel that an angel has arrived, but you have to take extreme caution, because this stage, raising investment at a bootstrap stage, when you're not clear about the product, when you don't have a PMF, and if your agreement is bad, it can break you. It can put a halt to your entire business. You cannot just move forward. I have my friends, a lot of my friends are stuck in this stage. And they have left business at this stage. A lot of smart young entrepreneurs have left entrepreneurship at this stage. And they've gone to, jobs. And even to this day, they, kind of, regret doing that. Yeah, at our side, luck was there, good investors, a lot of human values, and also, we were also very persistent, so that was there. But you got to be extremely cautious in this stage. But how to determine whether you're going to bootstrap stage or out of bootstrap stage? It's very simple. If you're making a year-on-year growth or a month-on-month growth without having to put extremely excess of sales effort, and if your customer feedback is very strong, and you see a runway, or you see a possibility of selling this product what you built for next 1 year or 2 years and make complete revenue, that is when you think that you're crossing the bootstrap stage. Of course, with visible profitability, if not on the net level, at least at the product level or operation level. That is when you can think that, okay, you are out of the bootstrap stage, right? So I'll also tell you one more thing, right? I'll also give you an example. There is one of the biggest investors of the country. I'll not name him. He has come to Mysuru. He has been in this stage and all. one of the biggest investors. So we had gone to raise funding for Ulipsu. And when we had gone to raise, in the hotel we were discussing, and we had a long discussion, and they said, Sumanth, you know what, product is amazing. We are very interested, but you got to do one thing. Yeah, what is it? So you give this product for free of cost for 10,000 students, and then collect the feedback, and then, based on the feedback, you come back and improve the product, and then, give free for another 10,000 students, or the same 10,000 students for another period, extended period of time. Now take the feedback, and then you come back with the data, and I'll invest you. So I said that, that is a long procedure. But he said, no, you have to give it for free. That is when you know customers, how the product is working. And of course, I mean, with all the humbleness and politeness, we just, said, we'll come back. But, when we came back to the office, we discussed, no, we will not sell even one subscription for free of cost, no matter what. Let it take another 6 months to get the first paid customer, but we will not sell it free of cost for any customer. Because if a customer is buying for free and you want to build a business on that, only Reliance Jio can do it. No one else in this country has even proved that a freemium model can work. Because we are that way, right? So if it is free and then you are suddenly charged, you feel you are cheated. Though at the first place you got it for free. So that is how we think. So we are very clear. So sometimes what happens at this stage, when you are not ready and you are raising the funds, you will get these advices which probably are not good. And you are compelled to follow those advices. Because you are not mature, the product is not ready, but somebody is ready to give money. So, okay, what do you think? Okay, better listen to him because, he's giving money. At least let's listen to him. Big red flag. Okay. So then, unexpected growth. We did not, we raised money, but we also, burned it. And then what happened? We kind of, you all know Atal Tinkering Lab, right? So, Atal Tinkering Lab was is a Niti Aayog initiative, and they give funds to the government schools or private schools, and there are empaneled vendors, and those empaneled vendors can go and set up the lab in the school. What happened is, with our experience and network, we got empaneled for sure. And we started selling to the school, and, company, like, we were struggling to do annual revenue of 20 to 30 lakh till about 2017-18 financial year. 2018-19 financial year, we did about 2.5 crores, 10 times the revenue in just 1 year. That's like the spurt of growth. And we were so happy, and we were like feeling like, we were the king. We felt like it's magic. We are winning, right? So this unexpected growth is also a big pitfall. Don't raise money in this unexpected growth also. I'll tell you why. I mean, again, my request is please relate it to what you have gone through. Maybe, some unexpected growth you have seen. Maybe for me, it is an year-long growth. Maybe for you, it is month-long growth. For example, I'll give you an example, right? If there is a FMCG product, which is mostly into the, let's say at home. So any FMCG product will get sold very well during the festival season. So that's an unexpected, not unexpected. Now the industry is mature, so it is expected. But at festival season, it just goes and then it dips again, right? Likewise, in our business, there is some point because of macroeconomic situations, microeconomic situations, because of the market conditions, we may see an immediate, spurt of growth. But that may not be a true indicator of, your product being accepted or your business being accepted. It may not be a true indicator. That is where, we got to have patience when we go through that unexpected growth also. So again, for me, it took years. For few of you, it could be in months also. There is no time frame for this. But it is important to recognize these stages, right? So in this stage, it is very important that, we stay to our root and think about, okay, really, be true to ourselves and ask this question to ourselves. This I and Nikhil used to do it a lot. Is it because, product is good, or is it because of certain external condition? We used to keep asking this doubt. if the answer is it is because of some external condition, we were always, kind of, being pessimistic about it. Because external conditions can drive only till a certain level, right? So, that is what happened, in unexpected growth. Then crisis happened. 2019 was one of the worst years of our life because we were at the top of our growth, 2.5 crores kind of a revenue. Money was there in the bank account, and salary was on time. We were giving it on time to the level that we also announced that salary is not given on the 10th of every month. It is given on the last working day. So to that level of confidence, we were there. Until then, we were like, 10th of the next month will be the salary payout of the previous month. That used to be the scenario. No, it said, no, last working day will give salary. To that confidence. And 2019, what happened was, all our schools were in North Karnataka and Central Karnataka. Central, North and Coastal Karnataka. We didn't have much schools in Mysuru and Bangalore. And that year, because of extreme rainfall, if you can, go back in your memory lane, 2019, entire North Karnataka was flooded. Entire Belgaum, Bagalkot, entire North Karnataka was flooded. Schools were closed for months together. And wherever we sold, materials have gone, trainings have gone, money has not come. So, 2.5 crores revenue was the previous year revenue. This 2019-20 was projected to be about 3 crores. And almost about 2 crores didn't come at all. But our expenses, our commitments are to the extent of 3 crores. What we received was only 1 crore, that too with great difficulty with an extended timeline. So, we were like this, at this high, and it suddenly dropped. It suddenly dropped. You cannot even imagine, how furious I was at office. So, it suddenly dropped. You can't do anything about it. It's not in your control, right? Flood happened and all. You can't put case against schools also. You can't win a case against school. So just for your information. So what happened? So nothing. 2 crore loss. GST pay, because we made invoices, sent materials. We had to pay GST. Our GST outstanding was 52 lakhs. Just the GST outstanding. We had orders that we couldn't supply to the government. There are multiple problems, and about 50 lakhs of stock lying in our godown, and about 52 lakhs of interest payment, and about other loans and all that thing. So we were in that debt. Probably it was a perfect opportunity for us to shut down. So that was the kind of the year. But we said, okay, let's stick around. And this point is the most important point of any entrepreneur's life. So first time in my life, I was dodging calls. Vendors used to call me and I was dodging calls. First time in my life, I never dodged any call, but I started dodging calls. I started dodging meetings. People used to come to my office. I used to be like, if they were there, I used to I used to lock myself in a room and I used to tell my employees that, you tell that, I'm not there. This happened not 10 years ago, just in 2019-20, right? So that is the time, you feel you're losing and something unexpected happens, and this is definitely not a time to raise, but we did that mistake. I'll tell you that story also. We raised it. So 2020, because we couldn't get out of the system at all, we were so burdened with the loan and, we couldn't handle it anymore. We finally, raised from an investor for 2 crores. 2 crore of amount we raised at an exorbitant shell out of equity. We were not ready for that. And, it was not even equity. So for those who understand, it was a convertible note. It was a convertible note at a 15% interest. Convertible note, 15% interest, and the day it is converted, it's an exorbitant, equity conversion. We were at the stage, we kind of, completely were lost. We did not know what to do. And we were like, okay, so what is, there is no way out, right? You have to survive or shut the shop. And 2014, me and Nikhil, when we decided to open this company, on that day we decided this will be a legacy company. So we did not want to shut it down. So we took the money, we took all the pain. So 2 crores came in, 52 lakhs paid for GST, another 50 lakhs for vendors. All that, if we, doing that. So February 2020, money came into our account. By April, some 20-30 lakh was remaining out of 2 crores. Now again we are stuck, what to do? And what happened in 2020? A big crisis. So we were not ready for it. 2020, COVID happened. And 2019, when these things happened, so I made a decision that, no matter what, I will, get 5 crores of sales by, traveling alone, selling alone. And believe me, I was almost 300 days, out of my office. So I single-handedly, so this is again for entrepreneurs who think that, selling is salesman job. No, selling is a founder's job. I single-handedly sold and bought orders of about 2.5 crores, single-handedly. So the entire revenue was 5 crores. Half of the sales I did, rest 10-member sales team did half of the other sales. So that is the founders. It's like, MS Dhoni goes and, single-handedly saves the match, right? So why we call that, it was a captain's innings, because that is truly the captain's innings, because the leader rises at that point of time. So that is what that was happened. So we were, at least, we raised this 2 crores, we were, lost completely. But, we understood that, okay, at least 5 crores of sales is with us. We were happy. So this 15% interest, from the 7th month, we had to pay 15% interest on the 2 crores money. We all said, okay, 5 crores sale ide, hego agatte anta. Then COVID hit. And we were in the school business. And government announced schools will not open. And all the experts said, Modi made a brilliant decision, 49th day, COVID will eradicate and all that. We were seeing that report and feeling happy and getting more materials, preparing and all that we did. But what happened? Schools didn't open. And our liability, because 2 crore was a convertible note, now that liability is increasing every single day, because salaries were increasing, rent was increasing, everything we were paying. So liability was increasing, that 2 crore, whatever that remaining 20-30 lakh also we exhausted. Again, we were back nowhere. Why I'm saying is, at the crisis time, why we should not raise is, so it puts you in a very dark situation. I have, at least again, luck was on my side, had good people with me. But I have seen a lot of entrepreneurs raising at a crisis time, and they have lost their, the assets. One of my friend, who was a prodigy in his segment, when I started, he was then covered by 2013 itself, he was covered in CNBC, NDTV and all. That prodigy, now, he now has lost his home. Just, this is about last month, because he couldn't get out of a deal. He had to pledge his house, get out of the deal. So I'm telling you guys, so how much ever we say that, founders are, not liable to the investment, equity investment. No, it's not that way. Madhwesh can, highlight those points. No. In fact, we had a share pledge. 100% share pledge also we had on the convertible note. That means if we were not able to pay the money back, our 100% company can be owned by that investor. Big mistake that we did, right? But I'll tell you that mistake also, how it, turned out to be a boon for us, because the same investor today is still with us, converted that convertible note into equity, invested money, got investors, and today, I mean, if you see the article and, the picture, the third person is him. Though we made the mistake, it is the resilience, it is the patience that will ensure that, that mistakes also can be covered. So that is the big crisis. And 2021 was a bigger crisis, because, COVID didn't go. But this is a defining moment. I'll tell you, right? Because you feel like you are losing again. But this time you're very clear why you are losing, what exactly you need to do, because you have gone through multiple cycles of failure, right? This is what happened to us. We had gone through multiple cycles of failure. When COVID came in 2021, I mean, COVID came in the sense third wave, right? So when third wave came, we were completely like, we were untethered. We were not affected at all. We were, I mean, business-wise, it was affected. Not emotionally, not mentally, nothing. So that is the time you make the bold call, because when you know that, difficulties cannot beat us anymore, right? So that is when I and Nikhil decided to pivot. This is a very important word, pivot. It is very important we keep pivoting our business. So from a completely offline brand, we pivoted to an online brand. That is when Ulipsu started. So we decided that, okay, world has changed forever. Internet has gone into everyone's home, and internet is way to learn. And UNESCO's report and UNICEF's report, NEP, everybody was saying that internet is the way to go forward. And we said, okay, this is where we'll build. And we built Ulipsu. Ulipsu is India's largest skilling platform for children. Today we have more than 300 courses completely curated and developed by us in Mysore. All these 300 courses are completely developed from Mysore. It's on our platform. And today we have more than 250 schools tied up with us because we pivoted. If we had not pivoted, then we would have been gone. And we pivoted, and then we pitched to the investor. The same investor with whom we raised the convertible note, we told him, listen, that day when we came to you, we asked you for help. Today we are presenting you an opportunity. What is that opportunity? We have a digital product, we have an online brand, and this can go to this level and all. And he was completely thrilled, and he said, Sumanth, I mean, the way you are, after giving 2 crore, I thought, you will anyway spend that money, you will lose yourself. And I did not even have any interest that, expectation that 2 crore will come back. But you stayed in the market. You were there. You are still existing. So that's why I'm willing to take the chance. And he funded again. And so that crisis we solved, and then growth started. So we built Ulipsu. For your understanding, Ulipsu word comes from a Sanskrit word called Upalipsu. Upalipsu means the thirst to learn, or the eagerness to learn. So we took that word and made it as Ulipsu. So we built the product and raised one more round in 2022. We raised one more round in 2023. So that is the kind of growth line, right? So it is very important that bootstrap to fundraise to growth, it is very important at what stage you want to raise the fund, at what terms and conditions, and how we are using. And let me tell you, today because we have these funds, our lifestyle has not changed. Our work style has not changed. Even today, I mean, come to our Bangalore office, Mysore office, we don't have an AC. Our investor, when he comes, he says, put AC, no. I said, no. It's you, you gave the money, but I'm responsible to spend the money. I don't do that, right? And for everything, I mean, even I remember 2000, our very recent office also, all the wall hangings I did by myself. I drilled, I put the hangers, everything. At night I used to do that because I should not look down in front of my employees also, right? So that is the kind of culture that we should not leave at any point of time. Just because we have got money. So I'll tell you, my investor told, when he invested for the second round, he said, I'm investing not because of the product. Don't get me wrong. I'm investing because by seeing you and Nikhil. You guys never give up. And that is why we invested. So this is a very important quality seen by the investor. So today, we have raised $5.7 million, about 46, 47 crores. Today, we have valued the last investment around $3.2 million. We raised at a valuation of $50 million. That's about roughly about 450 crores today. So we valued at 450 crores. We have customers. We have a revenue of about $2 million. That's about 15, 16 crores. Revenue we have, annual revenue. And this is the growth story that we have. So according to me, Fundraise is a very important part in any entrepreneur's life. It feels exciting. I mean, honestly, I mean, when it comes on the news, right, maybe you may feel like, now Sumanth is enjoying, fund is there, I mean, he's in the limelight. No. Sorry, I mean, the grind is still the same. The hustle is still the same. In fact, you're more aware now. You have to be more careful. So a lot of people came and told me that, Sumanth, you need to hire because you have 180 employees and, you're handling such business and new product line, you have to hire an executive assistant. I said, I'm thinking for last 6 months whether to hire or not. And I still have not decided. So why I'm telling you this is because money coming to account is only like 10% of the story. The rest 90% of the story is how you make use of it. right? That's very important. So that's my story of fundraise to growth. Last slide, aspiration unlimited, because once, see, you will know yourself that okay, you have reached a stage where you can aspire anything and you shall get it. You will become that. So we made that aspiration last year that we will go global. And today we have 2 schools in Dubai who are using our product. We have a subsidiary in Dubai. Now we are building products. So we earlier, when we launched the product, we thought it's an Indian product. So today we are building product for UK, the entire Europe, UK of course, after Brexit we have to say separately only. So UK, Europe, US. So for the entire global market, now the product is being built, and that aspiration came only with that experience. So at the last, I would like to say something. I mean, there are 2 kind of startups. One is experimental startup, another one is essential startup. So experimental startup cannot sustain. Experiment should be there inside a startup, but startup cannot be an experiment in itself. So that is when, we raise the funds wrong, we use it wrong, and, we just get out fast. So if you're here to build a legacy business, I think a cautious fundraise, cautious spend, and cautious hiring, cautious team building, everything is very important. So that's what I would, that's where, I'm ending my presentation. Again, thank you very much for the opportunity that I've got. And I wish Mysore ecosystem should go very fast, very high. And at any point of time, I would love to contribute in any which way that is possible for me. Thank you very much.
Thanks for sharing your candid thoughts. Candid because once you have that kind of money in the bank, you normally say only about the success part. He was humble enough to share the path that he has gone through, and the experiences that he shared are truly inspiring. We wish you all the best in future. And I like the part where he said that money in the bank account is only the beginning. There is a saying popular in English, with great responsibilities, great power comes with greater responsibilities. I'm sure that he is aware about all those things because it was evident in his knowledge share. An excellent share. I'm sure there are many other experiences and your thoughts. And I also liked one part where you said that these are all my experiences. It may not be exactly the way that everybody do. And that's very important, that there is no one textbook which says that you follow this, step 1, step 2, step 3. No, it may not happen at all. It is not sequential always. So now, to add to the evening's knowledge share, we have another erudite speaker with us. To know more about the next speaker, Madhwesh, may I request Bhuvan Gowda to introduce Madhwesh to this August gathering. Over to you, Madhwesh.
Madhwesh K is the director, Accrescent LPO Private Limited. Madhwesh K is a member of Institute of Company Secretaries of India and practicing corporate law consultancy for more than 14 years, and specializes in corporate laws, foreign exchange laws, and security laws. He focuses on financial and corporate structuring and restructuring. Special focus is on funding from pre-seed level till public issue. Currently, he is a IPO advisor for 2 SMA listing and 1 main board listing. He is also a panel member in HAL Management Academy and professor at NMIMS Global. He is an associate practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, immediate past president of Wagmita ICSI Orators Club, certified applied Veda practitioner, founder of Study Forum Vedic Tribe, podcaster, guitarist, biker, and ardent book reader. Over to you, sir.
But thanks to Sudhanva sir for referring my name. Thank you so much, sir. What a wonderful evening. and what candid, presentation that we had. I was expecting some formal, structured presentation, but amazing candid presentation. That was very honest, and I was really thrilled to listen to Sumanth. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Now, Sumanth said one thing. I want to just make a disclaimer that he said my PPT is better than him. It's better in only two respects. Mine has a background, and it has a thank you slide at the end. Only two things. Apart from that, it's all the same. Okay. Now, when we, okay, fine. Let me just tell you my role here. When Mahesh first reached out to me, I told him that first let Sumanth talk from a business perspective and strategic perspective. And then I will come in and I will add to what Sumanth has spoken on this particular topic from a legal perspective. When I say that, I know half of you would like to run away from this room the moment I say legal. No, I'm not your typical blood-sucking lawyer. I'm not. I'm a member of Institute of Company Secretaries of India, and the motto of my institute is to promote corporate governance. And when I say corporate governance, a lot of things are involved in it. Compliance is just one part of it. Since my specialization is fundraising, mergers, demergers, financial restructuring, the element of corporate governance is what I bring into these specific fields. Okay, so when I speak, the undercurrent of that is the corporate governance, ultimately. Okay, so let me just straight away get into that. Just one slide before. Okay, I'll use it. Okay, so generally when we say bootstrap to fundraise to growth, we normally don't see, especially in Indian scenario, I'm generalizing it at a very broad level, we don't see the middle part. We see bootstrapping stage and directly we see the growth stage. And I would like to make this session a little interactive, and I would like to hear from you why we don't see that middle stage generally. Any reason? Exactly. It is the fear of what Sumanth just explained. That is the fear, because that is why we don't go through that middle stage. We always think of bootstrapping, and then we talk to a few investors and say, this is not my cup of tea. Then we want to go to the growth stage. And what happens when we do that is that the company will heavily rely on the debt. We start borrowing heavily. We start bringing in partners who will help us in borrow. But ultimately, we'll end up becoming their slaves. Sorry to use that word, but that's what generally happens to the companies. So, but over a period of time, the mentality of entrepreneurs have changed, and we are seeing good amount of interest being shown in the middle stage. That is the fundraise stage. Now, in my presentation, I'll be talking about three aspects, of course. And in these three aspects, I'll be covering two areas. One is the legal angle that we need to remember, and the second one is the pointers for formalizing the agreement. When I say agreement, it is not the written 10-page, 100-page document that you get from a law firm. It is the agreement that you have with your partners. When Suman said himself and his partner always were sticking together, that is an agreement, right? That is an agreement that was always there. And when he said there was an initial investor who came and who continued to help the company, that was the agreement. Lot of things that Suman told, like how he got help from his partner or from the funding agency, lot of things cannot be written in the document also, but it is part of the agreement. But what we do as a legal expert, what we do as professional entrepreneur is that to large extent, to as much as possible, we try to formalize it. When we formalize it, it brings in a structure to what we do. And at the back of our mind, the formal structure, the formal agreement always remains. And Sumanth was very lucky in getting good partners, good investors who supported them, but not many business men are lucky in that respect. That is where the formalization comes in for the rescue. And actually, I was going through, and for startups, I came across this particular quote, which is very apt for the startups. Everybody has a plan till they get punched in their mouth. Mike Tyson said that. When you talk to startups, everybody has a plan. Everybody. I keep meeting many entrepreneurs who are running startups. When I meet them in Coffee Day or Starbucks, I have to sit and listen to their ideas for at least an hour. And after that, we get to everything else. Everyone has ideas. Good. But what happens is, those ideas will stop or they will go down the hill when they get punched in the mouth. I need not explain what is getting punched in the mouth because Sumanth has already told where and all we can get punched in the mouth. Talking about Mike Tyson, in boxing, all of you know, we use two hands, right? One to attack and one to defend. Sumanth represented the hand that attacks. I represent the hand that defends. Right? And especially when it comes to the fundraising level or bootstrapping level or growth level, it is the defending hand that always should be there. But once again, coming back to the Indian scenario where most of the businesses are family driven, especially in Mysuru, we see a lot of business are family driven. They are bootstrapped still. We forget, we let this guard down. We just lose this and then we start fighting in one hand. Then what happens? We get punched in the face. So let's talk of bootstrapping stage. Certain legal angles that we need to remember when we are bootstrapping. First point, identifying promoter. This may look lame as to why I should need a promoter. Generally, we see that promoter is someone who promotes the company, right? But not from a legal perspective. From a legal perspective, promoter is someone who controls the affairs of the company. I may be running the business, but I may be a minority holder. Someone else who have invested in the company who is not involved in day-to-day operation, he has the majority stake in the company, he is the promoter. Why we need to identify on record who is a promoter is because the promoter attracts certain legal responsibilities. He attracts certain legal liabilities. This is where we generally keep on showing that we are the promoters of the company on a general forum, even it creeps down into the legal document. No, when it comes to legally showing who is a promoter, be careful. Because promoter definition is different from what we generally speak. Second, at the bootstrap stage, this is where generally the idea talking entrepreneurs fail to put their ideas into hard numbers. Whenever I meet a startup entrepreneur, I ask them, have you made your financial projections? It's all in my head, they say. No, you have to put that into an Excel file. Once you put that financial projection into Excel file, you yourself will start correcting yourself. I've seen it happening many times. So, as entrepreneurs in the bootstrapping stage, this is something which is really important. Next one, budget for legal expenses. Now, when I say this, it is not so much applicable or it's not so much apt for enterprise, entrepreneurs who are running partnership firms or proprietorship firms. It is important for those who are running companies, limited liability companies. The cost of compliance is high. Please remember that. Cost of compliance, whether it comes to auditing, accounting, legal, it is high. Definitely it is high. So please ensure that when you do your financial budgeting, ensure that you include legal expenses. Why I'm stressing on that is because this is one place where we let our guard down. And when it hits us, entrepreneurs will say, oh my God, do I have to spend so much for this legal fee? I didn't expect this. There is no sales, boss. How can I pay this? It doesn't matter. The law, the regulator will not listen to whether you have sales or not, because when it comes to legal expenses, you have to budget for legal expenses. When I say legal expense, I'm not talking about taxation. Taxation is part and parcel of your financial position. Legal expense is where you have to pay certain fees for licenses, for filings with the government, for your legal consultant. This is what is legal expense. We generally miss out on adding this to our financial projection. This is where we need to be really careful. Because at bootstrapping stage, we depend on ourselves. As Sumanth rightly told that a lot of things we'll only do. And when we do, and when we don't have a professional team to help us, this is something we generally miss out. So please remember to include this. Then, because there is a scheme, startup, there is a huge promotion for startups. Government has many schemes, as many as 200 to 300 schemes when it comes to startups. So please, because when I talk to a businessman and I ask, have you not got your startup registration? He said, no, mine is already 5 years old business. It's okay. For 10 years, you can still get your startup registration done. There are some riders there, but still, up to 10 years, you can get your company registered as startup. Okay. Now, when you get registered as startup, there are many facilities available to you. I'll give you one simple example. If you have a women entrepreneur in your business, SIDBI gives a fantastic loan to you. If you have someone in your team who is from scheduled caste or scheduled type background, SIDBI gives fantastic benefits to you when it comes to taking loan. Comparatively, interest rate is very low. That benefit you will be able to claim only when you are registered as startup. So all of you, any company that you have right now, please go and get startup registration done. And just run through the startup website and it will take you to at least 200 to 300 benefits that you have. Of course, a lot of them are sector specific. Some of them are general, but still you will be able to get a lot of benefits from the government. Then structure your funding. I'll take example of Sumanth, what he told. They raised fund by issuing convertible note. I doubt, Sumanth, you really knew what exactly is convertible note. So when we raise funds and when we issue these fancy instruments, we know what is equity. But when we issue these fancy instruments, we hardly know what it is. One guy calls me and tells, sir, one of my neighbor has invested 50 lakh rupees six months back. And my auditor is asking, how should I treat that amount? I asked him, whether he is your relative? No. Is he a director in the company? No. Then it is not allowed. When you take money, even it is a small money, it is not allowed to take from someone which is not a company, which is not a bank, which is not your promoter, which is not your director. You cannot take that money. You have to structure your funding in a proper way. At bootstrapping stage, these are the things that we do out of desperation, right? You know, we need funds. Tomorrow we need to pay salary. Doesn't matter how it comes, but we need to give some time to think about it. Reach out to your auditor, company secretary. They'll guide you. That is not an issue. But you have to keep in mind that the fundraise that you do, whatever it is, whether it is 10 lakh, 1 crore, doesn't matter. Structure your funding. Understand what kind of instruments you are issuing to that person. It's easy to say, oh, I issued debenture. But whether it is convertible, if it is convertible, you lose your ownership over a period of time. This is what structuring comes. Structuring of your investment is very, very important, especially when it comes to taking money from foreign source. If you take money in foreign exchange, how do you structure your investment is very important. If you structure it like debenture, where you have to completely repay the money, the entire compliance will change. And when you write purpose code, when you're taking money from the bank, bank will ask for your declaration, right? How many of you have taken money in foreign exchange so far? Okay, so you must know that there is a purpose code that you need to write when you take money from foreign exchange. I see so many people writing wrong purpose code because they have not thought of structuring their funding. So this is something that we really need to remember. See, when you start growing, you have a team, they'll take care. But initially when you're bootstrapping, these are the things that you have to remember. Not only this, every slide I purposefully left out writing ETC, etc. I have not written. Because this is not the end. A lot of things are there. I'm only stressing upon few aspects which are really, really important. But I personally seen people failing in remembering these aspects. Now, while formalizing any agreement at the bootstrap stage, please hire a legal professional. I have seen many people saying, oh, I'll download a template from Google. I will edit by myself. I'll get it signed. No, please don't do that. Please hire a legal professional. Then, at bootstrap stage, when we are formalizing the agreement, it is very important to divide responsibilities. Now, when it comes to Sumanth's example, I'll take Sumanth's example only. They knew for sure what Sumanth is supposed to do, what his partner is supposed to do, what investor is supposed to do. He was very sure. I can understand, though he did not tell it directly, I can understand that there was a clear demarcation of responsibility. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sumanth. So, he was lucky because the investor did not become a vulture. But over a period of time, but in other cases when you get unlucky, this is what comes to your rescue. That is where you have divided responsibility. This is my area, please don't poke your nose in this. I'll give you reports, I'll give you all the information, don't poke your nose. This is very, very important. Then, promoters' remuneration. Suman, for how many years you did not take salary?
I started taking from 2022.
Oh,
Last year.
okay. See, when we are running a partnership firm or a proprietorship firm, it's like our own thing, right? You know, we have a hotel, there is a gala, we draw, we'll take whatever, it's ours, right? In a partnership firm, in a proprietorship works. But when you have a limited liability company, that doesn't work that way. The partner's drawal is no longer there in a limited liability company. You have to structure in a particular way. Now, when it comes to promoters' remuneration, when you are bootstrapping, when you are a startup, it's not so easy to write, okay, promoter will get 25 lakh rupee per month. It's not easy to write like that. You have to structure. How you have to structure? You are giving some, you are actually contributing to the growth of the company. But right now you are not monetizing it. Because the situation is like that, you cannot monetize. After 2 years, when the investor comes and then he invests, can you start taking salaries after that? What about the efforts that you already put before? You will say, okay, I'm the owner of the company, value is growing. Okay, that value will monetize over a period of time, or it might not even monetize also. Then how can you do that? There are a lot of ways where you can monetize your contribution to the company. When I'm a startup guy, when I'm contributing my time and effort to the company, there are legal ways in which you can monetize it. You can issue sweat equity share, okay? You can do that. Or you can accumulate salary by paying TDS to the government. You can make provision for salaries in your books, and over a period of time, when the investor comes, before investor comes at a valuation, at par you can convert that. Before you, if you don't do all these things, when the investor comes and your shares are small, investor brings in a big amount of money, then he gets, say, 75%. There is no way for you to monetize it, because to actually jack up your percentage in the company, you'll have to pull money from your pocket and invest and jack up your percentage of shareholding. Instead of that, if you structure your remuneration from the beginning, if you accumulate sweat equity or you accumulate your salaries by paying some small amount of TDS to the government, before the investor comes, just formalize it, convert it into capital at par, and then go for valuation. Possible. No one will ask you anything. So these are some things that we miss out at the bootstrapping stage. Then IP, intellectual property. How many of you have registered intellectual property here? Okay. Fantastic. So Mahesh is someone who can really guide us in this respect. Especially when we are doing startup and the whole business is run by innovation, what we call as innovation, we fail generally to register it as intellectual property. At best, we go and register our brand, and we don't think of anything else apart from that. And especially when we do that, we do it in our name, in individual's name. We don't do that for creating value in the company. When the new investor comes, when the actually brand has grown and all those things, at that point in time, we will get into a legal soup as to how this brand have to be given to the company. At that point in time, we'll run into royalty agreements and all those things. This is a big legal mess. So instead of that, create intellectual property in the company. So, okay, fine. When it comes to innovation like patent and all, you cannot do. You really have to reach out to legal expert. I don't want to get into the legal discussion today. But idea is that when you create intellectual property in the company, please make sure whether that has to be registered in company name or in the promoter's name. And of course, legal professionals, IP professionals, they can help you in that respect. Then comes fundraising stage. First point that I have seen, especially in the fundraising stage, where promoters fail in striking a deal, is in dilution. We generally feel that if I dilute more, investor will be happy. No, that is not true. More percentage you keep to yourself as a promoter, more happy the investor is. That means you should be in a position to command certain level of dilution. So when I say a certain level of dilution, under the law, there are 4 levels of dilution. First level is 10%. Please remember, first level is 10% dilution. Because the moment you give 10% to the investor, there are certain legal rights that investor will acquire even though you don't write it in the agreement. Second level is 25%. That means the moment you give 25% to that investor can block major decisions in the company. For example, you want to bring in a new line of business. The investor can block that decision just by holding 25%. The next level is 51%. The moment you give away 51%, you are literally selling your company. 75%, you are actually in minority. You don't have anything else to say. So these are the 4 levels. I'm not talking from an investor perspective, because if I come from an investor perspective, then again 90% I have to come back. But I'm talking from an entrepreneur perspective. So please remember, dilution is something which you have to really, really be careful about. Of course, Sumanth has explained in detail with respect to dilution, what was the fear of taking over the company by the investor and all those things. That is anyway there. Then non-equity instrument. Once again, I'll take their example when they issued convertible note. How many of you know what is convertible note? Okay, great. For the benefit of general audience, under the law, a company can raise non-equity instrument. That means you can raise debenture, preference shares. Okay, you can issue those instruments only if they are fully compulsorily convertible. If they are not, then there are a lot of other legal aspect kicks in. Otherwise, the easy plain vanilla way is to issue non-equity instrument which are 100% compulsorily, mandatorily convertible. There is only one exception. That one exception is the convertible note, where without attracting a lot of legal hassle, you can still issue a non-equity instrument which is an interest-bearing instrument, and it has an option for conversion. It is not mandatory to convert. Okay, so there's a clear demarcation between equity instrument and non-instrument. But how can you claim this benefit? You have to be registered as a startup. If you're registered as a startup, then you can enjoy this benefit. Once again, I don't want to go deep into the legal discussions. What I want to highlight is that it is not only equity that you can issue. There are a lot of other ways in which you can structure your non-equity instrument. A lot of investors are completely okay in investing in non-equity instruments also, because for them it's interest bearing. For them it gives a preference over the equity promoters. All these benefits are there, but some investors may insist on equity investment. Doesn't matter, but please remember that in addition to equity, you have option for going to non-equity investment also. Then once again, foreign exchange loss. Especially at the fundraising stage, we generally reach out to foreign investors, right? NRIs, like Sumanth told, NRIs or foreign fund houses, which directly invest from foreign country. But please remember, if you're raising money from NRIs, there is an option called NR or NRE account. That means, if that NRI has a rupee account in India, and he can directly invest from that rupee account in India, and it will not be considered as a foreign direct investment. Okay? So these are what is the benefit of not considering it as a foreign direct investment is huge. There is a huge repercussion. Because point number one, there is no exchange fluctuation that you are exposed to. That is the biggest point, right? Because here we are talking not of trade, that means not export import, but we are talking of huge investments. You are exposed to foreign trade if you take money in foreign exchange. But if you take money from NRI's NRO account in India, you are not exposed to foreign exchange. There is no compliance required. So this is something that we need to have it in mind. Now, what we generally see is that people take money from foreign, NRIs, maybe friend, family, some fund house and anything. In the purpose code, while they give submission to the bank, they write loan. It is violation of law. Please remember, when you take foreign exchange remittance and when you write loan in the purpose code, it is violation of foreign exchange laws. Because in order for it to become a loan, there should be a loan agreement registration number issued by RBI, and it should be structured as ECB. Once again, I will not get deep into the legal aspect, but please remember, while you take foreign exchange, certain laws work. Please reach out to your professional consultant, and that person will guide you, and your bank will also guide you. Then it is something that we generally do it out of desperation than out of strategy. That is debt equity mix. I'll ask a question to Sumanth once again. When you thought of borrowing from bank, have you ever thought what should be the debt equity mix? Bank. Yeah, when you borrowed from bank. Did you borrow from bank? Yeah, there is an overdraft facility. Okay. I'm not talking about overdraft facility. Have anyone borrowed term loan who have a limited liability company? So Sudhanva sir, I can exclude you from all the hand raising. So apart from you. Okay. So none of you have raised a term loan, right, from bank for financial facilities. When you do that, we do that without thinking of debt equity. Debt equity from bank level, it is maybe 7 to 1, 8 to 1 and all that. But from a business perspective, please remember, a healthy business has 1:2 debt equity. This is a golden ratio. That means, even though bank will be happy to give you loan because of collateral and all those things, as a healthy business, your debt equity should be 1:2. That means, for every 1 rupee equity, that is the owner's funds, 2 rupee debt. Equity is not your capital. Equity is your reserves, accumulated profits, security premium account, everything that is there sitting in your balance sheet as shareholders fund. But all of them put together should be half of your debt, and debt should not be more than that. Why? You can borrow. There is no stopping you from borrowing. But a healthy business has this 1:2 debt equity. If you really keep that in mind, and if you really digest that and make it part of your strategy, believe me, the company is going to grow like anything. Now, why it is important? Once again, it's a financial discussion. I don't want to get into that. Still, if you have any doubt why I insisted on a 1:2 equity, anyway, after this session is over, we can anyway have a discussion. And we have question answer session also, right? So that time also we can talk about it. Then at the fundraising stage, there are certain things that we have to keep in mind when it comes to formalizing the agreement. But generally what happens is that it is at this time, the investor brings in their professional team and they will impose their template on you. It is generally that is what happens, that we will not be having a free hand in drafting the investment agreement. It is a template that they give, that is a law firm that they have, they bring in that template and they impose it on us. That's completely fine. But from our side, as an entrepreneur, we have to have certain pointers that should be running in the back of our mind. Okay, you can run it through your legal consultant, that person will clear, but there are certain things as an entrepreneur you should also have at the back of your mind while signing the agreement at the fundraising stage. One is separate agreement. What is separate agreement? We generally combine certain operational elements or certain strategic elements into the investment agreement. That is not suggested. Please keep investment agreement separate. We call it as shareholders agreement or share subscription agreement or share transfer agreement, whatever. You keep it separate, and all other strategic aspect you keep it separate, because the investor, the funding house may also be partnering with you at the business level. So please keep these two separately. Then anti-dilution. Generally, when you get this template from the investor side, the anti-dilution clause will be very stringent. Literally, they'll tie your hands. The standard law firm kind of anti-dilution clauses will run into at least 3 pages. It will run into at least 3 pages. You will not even have patience to go through. Even if you go through, it will sound Greek and Latin. Please remember, anti-dilution clause is something that you really have to fight when it comes to investment, because you cannot be bound so much when it comes to dilution, right? Because see what happens, today investor will come, he will invest and he will go back to his house, and we are the one who are running the company. Tomorrow there is an immediate need for funds. There is some experience. There is an immediate need for funds, and the guy who is funding the company is hell-bent on getting equity only. And you are at the mercy of your investor. And you cannot do anything except to deny the investment and to bring in through some back channel. That is where we start getting money through back channels. You know what I'm talking about, right? Back channel investment. This is where it happens. So please have anti-dilution clause little bit in your favor. Okay? Then tag along and drag along. Tag along is where if the promoters sell their investment, he has to give option to the investor also to come along with him. That is, to exit the company along with the promoter. That is tag along. Drag along is where the investor is selling, and what he will do, he will drag the promoter also along with him. Why it may happen? Why a drag along is important? Tag along we can understand, because the investor is coming at the face value of the promoters. When the promoter exits, investor should also exit. We can understand. But why drag along? When the investor exits, he will drag promoters also along with it. Why? It happens at distress stage. That means when the business is in the distress mode, the investor wants to realize his investment, and the person who is buying don't want the promoters to stay in the company. He would want the promoters also to exit. And that is where this drag along will come. And believe me, 90% of the drag along clause in your investment agreement will be standard one, and that is highly stringent. There are a lot of incidents where the promoters genuinely wanted to stay in the business. They had to literally drag the investor to the court, bring in a stay on the drag along so that they stay in the business for at least 1 or 2 years. So please remember and please be aware of this drag along clause. It will look like a dragon in the agreement, but you have to be really, really careful about it. Am I intimidating you guys? No, right? Am I intimidating? No? Great. Okay. Then the exit clause. Generally what happens is that at the funding stage, when the investor comes, the investor expects to exit either at next series investment or at a IPO. Okay, if the company is big enough, he will expect the company to go for IPO and then he exits. And of course, the exited IPO will be at huge amount. Exit at next series funding may not be at such a huge amount. It all depends. But the exit clause is there. Generally, it is in the favor of investors. Now, where you have to be careful is in factoring the negative element. That means, what if the business goes bad? See, this exit clause works wonderful when the business is growing, right? But only when the business is in storm, only then this exit clause becomes a big headache. The investor, especially when the investment is from established financial institutions. See, if investor is like Sumanth's friend who is ready to stay in the company, it's fine. But when it comes from an established financial institution, they'll have timelines. They'll have timeline for entry, they'll have timeline for exit. And they have to stick to the timeline. Doesn't matter whatever happened when 3-year, 5-year ends, they want to exit. It doesn't matter at what stage the business is, they want to exit. At that point, what happens? When the business is not doing good and you can't find a new investor, then what happens? What will happen? It will be promoter's responsibility to buy those investments, to buy them. This is where the exit clause becomes the choking point. I have seen many promoters selling their personal properties just to give exit to the investors. Now, this is inevitable. Investor will have an exit clause, but please remember what they are writing in that exit clause. It should be, if it is a plain vanilla exit clause, okay, next series of investment I'm going to exit at a particular value, IPO I'm going to exit at a, great, fantastic. But if there are certain other things that choke you when it comes to exit, please consult your legal team and be very firm when it comes to negotiation. We generally do negotiation on the operations front. These things we just ignore. Why am I here to do is to help you with the second hand, the defending hand. Then the arbitration. Now, once again, it may seem so lame why he has put arbitration there. Because it's standard clause, any dispute under this agreement shall be referred to arbitration. The place of arbitration shall be place of bank. That's it. But how are you going to conduct arbitration? Generally, we don't do all these things, right? We generally go with one liner. If the investor is from US, then if he writes, the place of arbitration shall be New York, what will be the cost of your arbitration? Forget about New York. If it is Delhi, if you are stationed in Bangalore, what will be the cost of arbitration? And what if you don't have a say in appointing the arbitrator? Of course, as per the law, the two parties will have to appoint arbitrators. How are you going to appoint? What qualification the arbitrator should have? If your business is in niche industry, does the arbitrator has, knowledge of your industry? He should have, right? All these things you should ensure while writing this arbitration clause. Then we go to the growth stage. Then, at this stage, as a promoter, as an entrepreneur, generally you don't have to worry about the legal aspect. Because at this stage, you will be in a position to hire a legal team and they'll be able to do a lot of things. You'll be able to take help of a big law firm or a company secretary, chartered accountant. And this is the stage where you generally don't deal with the legal stuff, right? But this is the stage where I want to make a case for company secretaries. Not because I come from the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, but I want to make a case for company secretaries. This is the stage where generally we depend on law firms. I'm not against lawyers. My wife is a lawyer. She'll kill me if I do that. I'm not against lawyers. What I generally say is that this is an area of expertise for the company secretaries. What we do when we enter this stage, we depend on big law firms for these aspects also. No. Please hire a company secretary or take help of a good, established, experienced company secretary, myself. please do not go to lawyer for this particular stage. Yeah, when it comes to agreement waiting and all those things, you can definitely go. You can definitely reach out to them. But it is the time where you need a company secretary in the company. Especially when you're looking at, going for second series investment or for IPO, that is the stage you need. Forget about what law requires you to do. At a certain, once you hit 10 crore paid up capital, you'll have to hire a company secretary. That's a different thing. What I'm talking about, the real requirement of establishing corporate governance practices in the company. This is where I want to make a case for company secretaries. Then, access to larger investors. At this point in time, you are accessible to a larger set of investors. But this is where we attract a lot of legal trouble also. I'll tell you one example. There is a company in Bangalore which took money from a person who has Cyprus passport. He is also the citizen of Bangladesh. He has a Bangladesh passport also. So the money came from, okay, this guy entered the agreement. He wrote that he will invest money. He wrote that he will bring in euros and all those things. Fantastic. The first impression of promoters was that he is from Cyprus, the money will come from Cyprus because it's a tax haven and all those things, everyone knows. Later when they approached me for compliance purpose and they gave me the report from the bank, the place from where the amount was remitted was showing as Bangladesh. And I asked them, see, you said the guy is in Cyprus and you said he will be investing in euro from Cyprus. I said, sir, it came in euro only. That's okay. It came in euro. But from where did it generate? What is the problem with Bangladesh? Any idea? Pakistan, Bangladesh, now any country that we share land border with, we are supposed to take approval of RBI before we take money from this country's resident. It doesn't matter if he has a double passport. Like for example, Cyprus or Singapore, he may have another passport. It doesn't matter if it comes in euros also. If it doesn't matter, it comes in dollars also. Then we had to suggest them to go for a RBI and apply for violation. That means compounding of the violation. It's a big violation. Not only it's a violation, RBI will first see it as a money laundering case and they'll immediately refer it to Enforcement Directorate. You have to establish, you have to prove your innocence, you have to prove your genuineness before RBI. I'm just giving you one example. Because you are accessible to wide variety of investors, we generally ignore certain legal aspects and we get into trouble. Second point, as I told you, please have a good in-house legal team. This is where you need a good legal team at the growth stage. And then governance. I told you that my institute motto is to promote corporate governance. What is governance? Governance is not simply compliance. Governance includes accountability. See, at the bootstrapping stage, at the fundraising stage, either you're accountable to your friends and family or maximum to one investor. But at the growth stage, you're accountable to a large variety of stakeholders. And that is where you need to have governance systems in place. You or your friends or your team alone cannot handle this because there is a good requirement of governance practices and there is good requirement of internal control systems that you need to have and you need to establish at this stage. Then dividend policy. For how many years Microsoft did not declare dividend? Any idea? Microsoft did not declare dividend even though they were making profits. Any idea for how many years? Huh? More than 20 years. Under the law, they were not even required to pay dividend. It took a public interest litigation. A public interest litigation was filed and the law, the Senate, US Senate sat and they said, what you're doing may be legal, but it is not moral. Please declare dividend. And then they changed their dividend policy. Their dividend policy was just one-liner. The company shall not pay dividend. That's it. But when we are growing along with the investors, when we are expecting to bring in more and more investors, you have to have dividend policy. All those equity investors who are staying with you will be realizing their investment 3 times, 4 times, 5 times when the opportunity comes. But still, you have to have your dividend policy in place. Because what happens is, there is one advantage. Earlier, there was a dividend distribution tax. many of you might know, there was a dividend distribution tax. That means your profit is already taxed. Then before declaring dividend, you still have to pay tax. But fortunately, that is no longer there. Now it is opportunity for us to actually start remunerating our shareholders. Believe me, the moment you start paying dividend to the shareholders, the morale goes from 1 to 10. The moment you start declaring dividend. At growth stage, having a good dividend policy is very, very important. Please keep that in back of your mind. Now, when it comes to legal agreement at this point in time, you really don't have to worry about. It is a legal team which will deal with the other legal team. They'll give you a bulky document. All you have to do, close your eyes and sign all the pages. But there are certain meta-legal aspects that you need to remember. That means meta-legal means meta-legal team, not meta-law. Okay, meta-legal team that you have to remember. One thing we generally forget at this stage is the applicability of competition law. What is competition law? Competition law primarily prevents accumulation of power in certain big competing players. Now, at growth stage, what happens? For example, Ulipsu, Sumanth's company, maybe 5 years down the line, they become market leaders. Probably they will be having 75% of the market share. At that point in time, when you enter into agreement with the investors, you have to keep whether actually I'm promoting competition in the market or I'm destroying competition in the market. This is something that we generally don't think of. Okay, many of you might not be in that stage right now. You will be, hopefully you will be. This is something that we need to keep at back of our mind. Second point, group entities. This is the time for you to actually establish sister companies, subsidiaries abroad, maybe a holding company where all shares are held, maybe an investment vehicle for investing in further companies. This is where you have to have a tree of companies in your corporate, at your corporate level. When I say group companies, have a holding company which will have all the investments there. Have a subsidiary company which will do your other business. Divide your business into segments, and as far as possible, segment businesses, let that be handled by different subsidiaries. And decide who will own those subsidiaries. When it comes to making money, some of your business segment will be making huge money. Some of your business segment will not be. So just by creating a subsidiary for that, you will actually realize value better. If you keep it within the company, no, it's very difficult to segregate. So in the beginning itself, at the growth stage itself, if you structure your corporate structure, if you put the corporate structure in place, then it gives you a lot of benefits. Then, professional management. Any idea why I put that professional management there in the legal segment? What is professional management? Any idea? What is professional management? When we come from, generally when we come from the family-run business background, we don't generally understand what is professional management. Professional management is that you hire a CEO for salary. Till fundraising stage, you are the promoter, you are the CEO. You know, Sumanth went there and put hangers. Absolutely fine, fantastic. But when it comes to growth stage, you need to have a CEO to whom you pay the salary. This makes a huge difference to the way you do the business. But unfortunately in India, we don't still have that culture of professional CEOs. We still don't have that culture. But I really, really encourage every one of you to think of this. No, it is not that only at growth stage you can think. Even at the fundraising stage, you can definitely think of it. But this is something that will make you go to the Mars. Then brand. Here, I'm not talking about intellectual property. Here, I'm talking about branding. Branding is not only doing branding, but branding is protecting your brand. Ensuring that you really stand for what your brand is talking about. Because when you enter into investment agreement, this is something that we generally miss out on doing. Okay, we have a brand, or brand is protected and all those things, but whether my brand is creating the value proposition in reality or not, this is something we generally miss out at the growth stage. Okay, so this is where I end my talk, and hopefully mine was not a express one, right? I wanted to do in this way to cover as much ground as possible. Hope that I gave justice to it. Once again, thank you Sudhanva sir for giving this wonderful opportunity. The floor is open to you. Thank you.
Vish, you gave a different perspective. May I invite Sumanth also? Can we have mics here, please? We'll have a Q&A session. In the interest of time, we'll restrict to limited questions. You can shift there so that I'll also come.
Yeah. Okay. So we saw two different perspectives. One was from grassroots experience, how and things of fundraising, bootstrapping and growth. And we saw another perspective of how do you prepare for that? Okay, so I have a couple of questions for you and then we'll open up the Q&A for the audience. When we come to the audience, please, you can be brief in your question and you can address to whomever you want to pose the question. So my first question to Madhwesh is that, first up, thanks for that insightful presentation. It was colorful, it had a thank you. More than that, it was something very meaningful. So the question to you is that Indians and Indian companies, we are more reactive than proactive. That is, for any legality or any compliance, we are more reactive. And your stress there was very clear that we have to be very proactive. But it is very difficult in early stages, especially when you're bootstrapping. The costs are very high. The compliances itself will eat a major chunk of your resources, whether it be registrations or the compliance, the filings and things like that. So you did give an elaborate list of to-do there. But how do you suggest and what are your suggestions to startups, especially of focusing on compliances right from the beginning? You did cover, but I want you to elaborate, touch upon that point first.
Thank you. Hello? Yeah. So first we have to understand, in the Indian system, it is a brute fact that there is compliance required and there is compliance cost involved. It's a brute fact and everyone have to accept it. I have seen in many cases where promoters ignore it and over a period of time the cost accumulate and they literally have spent lakhs and lakhs of rupees just to make the compliance right. It is as simple as being a brute fact, and if you're not up to it, if you're not cut out for it, please don't incorporate a private limited company. Please don't incorporate a limited liability company. Do it in a partnership firm. It's completely okay. There is nothing wrong. But when you go to a level where you can really accommodate all these things, you can go for converting that into a company. Otherwise, don't think of the company if you're not cut out for it. If you're cut out for it, if you understand it well, definitely yes. Why not?
Thanks, Madhwesh. In fact, that's the point I wanted to hit upon, that sometimes it is better to be a smaller entity rather than grow and then suffer the pain of it. Sumanth.
I'll just add to that,
Yeah,
because
please,
it's
please,
very important.
Please.
Even when we were doing the due diligence of our first investment round, you don't believe the kind of due diligence report we got. It is all red flag, completely red flag. This is not there, this is not there, this is not there. And the investor completely denied investing because Madhwesh today is on the entrepreneur side, but if he sits on the other side of the table, he will advise investors not to invest on companies which have not complied, right? So even though, like for example, professional tax, or it could be PFESIs, even though it costs some amount, please, that it's a necessary devil. So we got to invest and we got to make it if fundraising is somewhere there. Otherwise, don't try to save that 20,000-30,000 rupees money at that point of time, because it's going to cost big time. So that's from my experience itself.
Yes, Sumanth. Hold on the mic. The next question is for you. We've seen that in entrepreneurship, there is one term which is very popular, is extinct by instinct. That is, we try to take some decisions which are naturally leading us towards extinction. And this is there in most of us. You were fortunate and you were lucky that many of your decisions did not backfire, right? So there were investors with you, stayed there and things like that. Now, how do you kind of build a system within your organization? This is for startups, according to your experience. So how can you kind of neutralize this kind of taking instinctive decisions? So, I'm lucky in terms of getting right people, but
when it comes to a lot of other compliances or documents, I was always very cautious also, because though we signed a convertible note agreement, the moment I signed it, me and Nikhil started thinking how we can eradicate this document, how we can make it go. This document should not be there. We should get away with this convertible note document. How we shall do it? That was the discussion from the day we signed that agreement. So what happens is it's a conscious effort that we need to do. A lot of instinctive decisions we take. I call it as two things. I call it as whether the decision that you take makes a irreversible impact or it can be reversible. So you need to decide that. If you take a decision which makes an irreversible impact, then you got to wait it out. If it is a decision which can be reversed at any point of time, then you can take it, experiment, fail, that's perfectly fine. But making that decision, even that 20-second, 30-second, 1 minute kind of a decision where you think that, okay, if I take this decision, whether it is reversible or irreversible, that is something that we need to ensure. So that thought process, we need to cultivate that thought process. That's what I would say. That's a farming completely.
I'm sure we got the kind of crux of what bootstrapping and fundraising and growth and the compliance is part of it. Now I welcome questions from the audience. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask the experts here sitting with you. We've heard from different perspectives through the evening, and I'm sure you will have some questions. Please raise your hand and the mic would come to you. Yeah. Can you quickly tell your name and also address the question? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ashwini. So I am from Isocrates, which is a subsidiary of an LLC company. So I run the subsidiary. So now my question is to Sumanth. So how do you manage attrition? So why I am asking this question is, so because from your talks I understood that you are very conservative when it comes to spending. And I am also a similar kind of a person. So but considering the industry that we are from IT and ITES, so it's not so easy to, satisfy the millennials and the laterals that are coming from, big brands. So just wanted to understand from you, how do you manage attrition and satisfy your employees?
I can completely relate. There is a syndrome, right? Employee-employer syndrome. So it is always a dispute. Employee doesn't like employer, employer doesn't like employee.
Yeah.
That's, having said that, okay, I'll tell you a couple of things that we have incorporated in our company, right? It may sound a little brutal, but that's how we do. For example, in the interview, we don't negotiate salary.
Okay.
Simple. We don't negotiate salary. So let's say, for example, some IT head coming at 10 lakh, and we have a budget of 12 lakh, and we'll say 12 lakh, and they come up with, we expect 50% hike, 30% hike, and we don't take them at all. We tell them very clearly that this is our culture, we don't negotiate. And we tell them why we don't negotiate.
Okay.
We tell them that, if that 1 lakh, 2 lakh extra money is important to you, this is not the right job for you. But if you think of growth, if you think of the people that you work with, this is the right place to work. And you may filter a lot, it is a painstaking process, but the people that you get after this process, right, they will stick with you. So I would say, decreasing attrition is directly proportional to the quality of hiring that you do, or the culture that you do, culture of hiring that you inculcate. So that's one thing. Second is you got to speak to the, because I can talk about incentivization, company benefits, perks, all that. So that anyway, any Google answer will tell you, right? But I would want to tell you, talk about culture all the time. Talk about culture. I have trained my entire leadership team to only talk about culture to their team. When whatever it is, right? Though it is boring, though it is repetitive, though may the employees, when they go for a chai break, they may talk about, who is this manager? Always talk about company culture. I'm getting bored. Even then, we want them to talk about culture, because they will realize one day that culture of the company drives the decision of people staying in the company. So good quality hiring and talk about culture, that culture precipitation is very important.
Thank you. Good to know. However, might not work for all the industries, but thank you.
For Madhwesh. I think you elaborated on the different between the equities and the other instruments which is available. Two questions into that. Convertible notes versus the safe notes which 100x VCs uses. One, convertible notes, safe notes. So is it a difference between these two, or it is both are identical?
Yeah, they're different.
Okay. The second one is on the between equity and debt, there are other instruments are there. That is, it may be in a OCD and other thing. So how different the OCD to convertible notes?
Okay. So in this point, I would like to make little elaboration. When it comes to equity, it is plain vanilla ownership instrument. In a company, equity is plain vanilla ownership instrument. When it comes to other instruments, like for example, if it is owner's instrument, then what is the loan that you take from the bank? It is a borrowed fund. It is a plain vanilla borrowed fund. And there can be a combination of these two. That means if you are issuing or if you are borrowing from a set of investors and you are not taking it as owner's funds, then you have a choice to structure it. How can you structure it? You can make it a pure debt. That means whatever you give, I have to return it to you in three years, and I pay say 14% interest, 15% interest. You can make it a plain vanilla debt. And that debt, if you structure it that way, it has certain level of compliances. Instead of that, you take plain vanilla debt, but you issue a security to secure that. That means when you take debt, you give a debenture to the investor. Then different set of compliance will come. So there is a difference. And you take a debt, don't issue debenture certificates, but you consider it as a deposit from members. That means, you know deposits, right? Bank can accept deposit from public. The same way, companies can also accept deposit from members. That means from the shareholders, it can borrow money for short term between 6 months to 3 years. Okay? And that can be traded as deposit. Between a plain vanilla loan, deposit is there, debenture is there. These are loans. What we call it as non-convertible, where these are not convertible. Or you can add one more and make it more hybrid and say, okay, fine. At the end of 3 years, I will compulsorily convert. Or I will give option for conversion. The choice is endless. You can do any kind of permutation and combination and bring out any kind of hybrid instrument. It's up to you. But you have to remember there are certain law, there is a legal provision operating in the background. With the consultation of proper legal professional, you can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. In the interest of time, we will close the Q&A for now. Both the dashing youngsters will be with us. You can bounce your questions during dinner. I'm sure you will have a lot of questions during that time also. We can network and have the Q&A at that time. At this point in time, I kind of relate to the analogy that Madhwesh was giving, that fundraising growth is like boxing. You have the front and the back. So we are now equipped with the front arm and the back arm. And I'm sure we have a lot of take-homes from whatever you both have shared. Thank you very much for sharing your valuable thoughts. This is not a word of thanks, but still on my behalf and on the crowd's behalf, thank you for that. May I now request the President of TiE Mysuru Chapter, Sumanth, to hand over the mementos to the speakers of the day. First up, can we have Sumanth please collect a souvenir for the wonderful sharing of your experiences. All heard about the G20? So there is also Startup 20. Now what is this Startup 20 and what is it in for all of us? To know more about that, may I request Shiv Shankar to take over.
So great session. Thanks for Sumanth and then Madhwesh. It's a perfect combination of the compliance part and then the the challenges of the startup in taking from Bootstrap to fundraising. This is where the new activity which you look into that when the entire world is looking at India, and then how the India under the G20 presidency, what exactly they're doing into that. One of the critical element of out of the 11 part of the G20 is the Startup 20. So it means that India is taken this very seriously. How can leverage whole lot of the things which we discussed last 90 minutes between the compliance part, legal part, cross-border challenges of the financing, and also the what Sumanth has mentioned in terms of the ecosystem part, mentoring part, not only in region but across the G20. So it means that the importance is given under the G20. So basically, they want us to put or maybe give the inputs. There is a policy framework is already drafted. It's a 5 months exercise which under the chairmanship of Dr. Vaishnav, Chintan Vaishnav has been delivered on that. So we are part, some of us are part of that. Now it is given to the public consultations wherein which they are seeking the recommendation, they are seeking the feedback on certain areas. So if you look at the G20 ecosystem, we got nearly 850K startup under the G20 ecosystems. So we got 20K incubators under the G20 ecosystem. If you look at in that number of 54K investing community across the G20 community, and then there are 1,600 unicorns within that framework. So what we are showing a video under this capacity is basically, so as an enabler, so the TiE is an enabler of the startup ecosystem. Founders and the entrepreneurs are part of the ecosystem. Now it's an opportunity for us to give the feedback and recommendation under the policy making which government is seeking into that. So in next 24 hours, so we have the deadline. So because they will be rolling out the first version in the first week of the June. So what we are looking at is the you all know about this one earth, one family, and then one future. So that is where the India stands onto that. The next slide, please. Right. So basically, we are talking about innovation, entrepreneurship, and collaborations under the G20 startup kind of a thing. So there are 5 elements which blend into that. So fundamentally, what Madhwesh has talked about, 2 part of it is a foundation and then the alliance of it. So that is a critical 2 part of it, and then the finance part is in the middle part, and then the inclusivity, and then the focus on sustainability. So these are the 5 elements which they are seeking the recommendations, feedback, not necessarily to region, but looking at how a startup, how a founders, or maybe an entrepreneur, thinking from you have an access to the any G20 country. So maybe an example what Madhwesh has given, like somebody taking a money from Cyprus and not complying to that kind of a thing. So what are those possibilities, or maybe modifications, or maybe alignment is required when they are doing the business? So these are the out of 200 pages of the compliance part of that, now they are compressed into nearly 11 page of policy making. So they have make it very easy. So please go through that document which we already shared in the WhatsApp group, and now we are also playing that 8 minutes video which Chintan Vaishnav is talking about that, and also the link which gives the access to the policy document, and the feedback link is also shared on the same thing. So please give yourself at least an hour after this, or maybe once you go back. Some of you already done that and understand that. So this is an important piece of the thing. The reason I am requesting or maybe putting under the TiE platform, in coming days we are also looking to set these kind of things for Mysuru itself. So we'll come back and then relook into that, how Mysuru also requires some policy engagement or maybe ecosystem possibilities, how we need to build this kind of a structure so that we know what's required and how needs to be make the things life easier for founders and entrepreneurs, for the fund, for the access to the details, networking kind of a thing. So I request team to play that. So 8 minutes. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the Startup 20 engagement group of the G20. I'm Chintan Vaishnav, chairperson of this engagement group, and this is a new engagement group that has been launched during India's presidency of the G20. Collectively, the group of 20 nations represent a startup ecosystem that has more than 850,000 startups, more than 1,600 unicorns, more than 20,000 incubators supporting these startups, and more than 54,000 investors such as angel investors, venture capitalists, and private equity funds. At the highest level, Startup 20 has two overarching objectives that must be achieved simultaneously. First, to harmonize the global startup ecosystems in order to facilitate collaboration across these ecosystems. But second, to do so while preserving the freedom of national ecosystems to develop and grow as they desire simultaneously. Now, before discussing Startup 20 further, let me provide a brief background on how the G20 itself is organized. This is the first time India has the presidency of the G20, which arguably is the world's most influential economic forum with over 85% of the world's GDP and 2/3 of the world's population. The forum is organized in three tracks: the Sherpa track, the finance track, and the engagement groups. The first two tracks, the Sherpa track and the finance track, are governmental tracks, while the third set, which is the engagement groups, is the set of non-governmental groups. The engagement groups are expected to produce recommendations for the world leaders towards their process of policy making, and Startup 20 is one such engagement group. Under the G20 umbrella this year, Startup 20 is the only new engagement group. This group was proposed by India and has been agreed to by other nations. Startup 20 as a group will, for the first time in the history of G20, produce recommendations related to startups for the world leaders this year. Here's how the Startup 20 engagement group is organized. I, Chintan Vaishnav, serve as the chair of this group. iCreate is the secretariat, PhD Chamber of Commerce is the program directorate, Deloitte is the knowledge partner, and then from the government side, members of Startup India and Atal Innovation Mission form the core team for Startup 20. The recommendations are developed by the overseas and Indian task force councils and members. And then there are many other organizations involved, such as partner organizations like UN Women and other in-kind partners, and unicorn, official, and prime sponsors of this engagement group. The work of Startup 20 is done through three task forces. First, foundation and alliances. Second, finance. And third, inclusion and sustainability. Foundation work is focused on the harmonization of startup-related definitions and terminologies. Alliances work is focused on setting up institutional mechanisms for the startup ecosystems across G20 nations to form a global network of alliances. Finance work is focused on enabling the flow of global capital into startups across G20 nations. Inclusion work is focused on supporting entrepreneurs from marginalized groups, as well as support of the inclusion-focused startups. And sustainability work is focused on scaling SDG-focused startups globally. The group expects to produce the following outputs. First, the main deliverable of this group is the policy communiqué to be submitted to the world leaders. There are 4 other deliverables that will be produced in the process of producing the communiqué. First, a startup definition framework and terminology handbook. Second, a startup financing framework for financing across G20 nations. Third, mechanisms to accelerate startups addressing critical SDG and inclusion gaps. And fourth, a blueprint for creating a network of global innovation centers to foster collaborations across G20 nations and organizations. Startup 20 will progress through 4 major meetings. It started its work with the inception meeting in Hyderabad in January 2023. The second meeting was Sikkim Sabha in March 2023. The next meeting is in Goa in June, and this meeting is focused on finalizing the policy communique. The final meeting, which is the Startup 20 Summit meeting, will be held in Gurugram in July 2023. At all of these meetings, there are discussions, startup showcases, and Startup 20X talks. Let us now watch 2 brief videos that show the glimpses of the Hyderabad Inception meeting and the Sikkim Startup Sabha.
For us, being in India and the G20 Startup 20 meeting is so important.
It was amazing being here to discover the Indian market and also be our G20 participant.
Well, I really enjoyed being part of our task force of foundations because we were not a super large group, but large enough to have different groups where we had discussions and brainstorming.
It was a great experience sharing this VR technology that we are building with the common people.
So yeah, experience was really good. The arrangement is good, and we are getting a lot of inquiries from this G20, and really helpful for the G20 to organizing this in Sikkim.
As we head into the Goa Sankalpana meeting, where we want to build consensus on the final policy communique, I'm here to share with you the first public draft of this communique. I'm here to request you to provide your comments on this draft so as to make it reflect your concerns as accurately as possible, meaning the concerns of the startup ecosystems of the world. This is important because, as I said earlier, this is the very first time startups and the ecosystems that support them have the opportunity to provide policy recommendations to the world leaders. You can use this link or QR code to provide your inputs. On behalf of the Startup 20 Engagement Group, thank you very much.
Chintan Vaishnav, an important part of the entire activity what India under the G20 India's presidency kind of a thing. You can understand our Prime Minister never missed an opportunity to sell things, and startup is one of the important part of the puzzle itself. So how the voting is important when we're looking at selecting our representative. Please make this an opportunity to put your recommendations, put your voice out, and contribute to whatever the effort is government is also doing into that. Can I have one more slide? Which, if you are in CM group or the AM group, the link for all three activities. The first one is the YouTube video, what you have just saw here. And the second one is the policy document, which is an 11-page document. It is easily, you can read that through. The third one is a feedback one. So all three has been given in the WhatsApp group. If there are any questions still out there, please let us know, so that roughly we got around 24 hours plus another 4 hours. Like midnight of tomorrow is like these links will be potentially stopped. So please make use of the opportunity and then contribute whatever the best you can contribute to that level. Thank you very much for that. And one more announcement before we heading for the word of thanks and the dinner. The next one. Right. You all heard about what both the gentlemen have spoken about that. You also know what TiE University program does in January to March, how to supporting the student innovators, student entrepreneurs, student founders kind of a thing. We felt that the journey which Sumanth has been through, that how can we optimize more, how can we support with better mentorship kind of a program. So this particular nurture program is designed in such a way that those who have been a part of the university program will get an opportunity to apply for this. We are looking to select 3 to 4 startups in the last 2 or 3 years of our TiE University program participant, take them through the 2 months of intense nurturing by mentors from the global team and as well as the local team as well. Each team, each startup will get 2 mentors for the 2 months for them to go and completely look at investable ready startup kind of a thing. You understand? 100 days kind of a thing. So it means that there's an opportunity for you to tremendously improve where you are today and then after the 3 months kind of a thing. What is required? There is also a request on the mentor side. There is a session, the workshop has been arranged on the 9th of June. We are also communicating those who wanted to be 8th June. So communicating those who wanted to register for the part of the mentoring group for this particular program. They will also go through an half-a-day workshop in terms of taking them to the structural way of managing this entire program. So this is another announcement. We are going to launch, share that very shortly in terms of the criteria which we are selecting the startups and also some responsibilities we are expecting from the mentors itself. So please support both of the activities and thank you very much.
I'm sure startups will make use of these mentoring sessions as well. It has been a very meaningful 2 hours. A lot of knowledge share. I'm sure we all take home many things with us. And to give a formal vote of thanks, may I invite Professor Kishan to propose a formal vote of thanks for the evening. And this is where I sign off. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity as an anchor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, we are late by 52 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, let us first give a big round of applause to both the speaker, Mr. Sumanth and Mr. Madhwesh. Yes, obviously, to put up on a very keynote, my guru used to tell me nothing should come for free. And now I'll take it from here, nothing should be sold at free of cost. And as Mr. Madhwesh sir mentioned, his points were very clear. He is not going deeper into legal, but he was making you making you people to be very much cautious when you people are taking certain decisions in your entrepreneur journey. More than the knowledge series, the session from Mr. Sumanth Prabhu as well as Madhwesh was too much on to understand the conscious, the sense wherein we people are supposed to take it forward and how much we are supposed to think to keep ourselves safe and take the journey ahead. Thank you, both of you, for your wonderful session. So, let me thank the TiE President, Mysuru Sudanva sir, as always, for bringing both the gentlemen on board here to, have the wonderful session for about 2 hours. Thanks to Mr. Mahesh Katale for making all the arrangements right from the beginning. And I should thank Spurti Vivek and Bhuvan Goda for introducing both the gentlemen to the entire audience. I thank Mr. Rakesh Prabhu for being the master of ceremony and handling the moderation of Q&A for the entire session. And foremost, I also thank the entire audience, the venue partners, Oyster Bay, and the Inside Out consultants for giving all the facilities arranged in time. And last but not the least, I also take this moment to thank Mr. Shivshankar sir for collaboratively bringing G20 Summit at this auspicious event wherein we are meeting post-TiECon for the first time. Thank you, Shivshankar sir, for this. And the student members who are here, it's the eye-opening session for all of you here. Please take it forward, and I wish all the audience here a very good night and have a good dinner ahead. Thank you, everyone.